Everyone, Alodar here again with another video for you. Today we're going to be talking about New World and my experiences throughout beta. New World is an MMO that is scheduled for release at the end of this month, August of 2021. It has been in development for several years now, and this was supposed to be its only and final beta after a decent period of alpha. I played in the alpha about 2 years ago and enjoyed the game at the time and decided not long ago to give beta a try as well. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the game, the story proceeding where you start in the game is that you're on a ship whose captain has set sail to find some rumored island of legends where ships travel to and they simply vanish. Like others before, your ship is destroyed in a storm and you were able to somehow make it to land as a survivor. This is essentially all the lore that you know at the start of the game. The rest of the lore you pick up through other methods in the game, such as quests. Now, I came up with a lot of material for this video, so much in fact that I decided I was going to have to break it down into parts. For this video, I'm going to give broad examples, both good and bad, and overview of the game and where it is at in development. Should you buy it? Is it ready? All of that sort of stuff. And in 2 follow-up videos, I'm going to go into much more specific details with examples of both what I did and did not like. For starters, I put in over 130 hours just into the beta alone. I focused primarily on the game's systems rather than just blasting my way to 60 as fast as possible. I really wanted a good understanding of how things in the game work. Factions, crafting, weapons, spec, combat, etc. were all things that I was very much interested in, so that when I gave an actual review, I had a much better idea as to how the game worked. Let's get the obvious out of the way first. The graphics in the game are outstanding, but that's only going to take you so far. Once you get over the shiny new object, it's the gameplay and the end game that's going to determine if the game is going to have any long-term success. Now, once I actually sat down and got started to playing and looked past all the fancy graphics, I also noticed that Amazon really paid very close attention to detail. The sound in this game is absolutely spectacular. Even those watching my stream were commenting how the little things made the game so much better. You could run through a swamp and hear noises from animals lurking about. Mining a node actually sounded like you were swinging the pickaxe yourself. Chopping down a tree and you could hear the crackling of the wood as it fell over. Even little things like running through grass fields. The sound is exactly as you'd imagine. Now, the questing system is different from what I'm used to. There are several different types of quests. For example, your main story quest line kind of guides you through your leveling experience and takes you from zone to zone as you're leveling up. This is also where you will discover the main storyline of our adventure and worth the most experience per individual quest. You also have side story quests that help tell more of the history of Eternum. The side story quests also take you around and give you some variation to the regular grind of the game. I would suggest making sure that you pay attention to when these quests appear and do them when in the vicinity while doing other quests. You can easily find them as they appear on your map when they become available. You'll also appreciate the shakeup of the repetitiveness of the next 2 quest options. If you're wanting to learn more about lore in the game, these first 2 types of quest options that I've given you are also probably the best place to start. Town board quests are next on the list, and they are essentially objectives given when the town is upgrading certain things in the town, such as the blacksmith, smelting station, etc. You and other players will be sent out to gather the materials needed in regular upgrades to these stations, as well as other standard items that the town may need, such as food rations, etc. In return, you'll get experience and gold, among other things. Faction quests are similar to town board quests, however, these are missions specific to your faction. It will give you experience and faction tokens that you can buy decent gear with as you level up. The problem with both town board and faction quests is their repetitiveness. There is very little variation, and you seem to do essentially the same quests over and over and over again, even from town to town. For me, I was kept busy chatting with my stream, but I could see this sheer lack of variety to be a big issue for players trying out the game. The lack of originality and having to go kill the same mobs or search the same type of chest, but only at different farms, does get really repetitive, and it feels as though Amazon has really not put in the effort for these particular quests. I hope that Amazon really takes a look at this before launch. Let's move on now to the crafting system. The crafting system is probably the best I've ever seen in an MMO. Right from the gathering to the refining to the finished product at the very end. It really is a very impressive system. I don't really have anything bad to say, and I'm very glad to hear that the crafted items at the end of the game will be very important, and even the best items in the game. You even get XP as you craft the items, so it's entirely possible that you could actually level all the way up to 60 without doing any questing at all. There are 3 factions in New World, and each has a story behind it and conflict with each other as they vie for control of Eternum and the territory within it. Each faction has its own uniqueness and gear appearance to it. You want to play with the Marauders, a ruthless military force wanting to establish a free nation where anyone can prosper, as long as they have the strength to do so. The Covenant are religious fanatics that have charged themselves with cleansing Eternum of heretics and defilers so that its true holy nature can flourish and justice can be restored to these lands. I didn't really expect the Spanish Inquisition to be in Eternum.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition!
How about the Syndicate? This is a secretive organization of guile and intellect constantly in search of long-lost forbidden knowledge so they can usher in a new age of enlightenment. Choose whichever side you want to be on, however, make sure that you decide carefully, as you cannot switch for 120 days, and you can never switch to the side that has control of most of the lands. Make sure that you and your friends pick carefully. Factions themselves bring a nice flavor to the game, however, I find that in many aspects of the game, there doesn't really seem to be a huge impact for whatever faction you're in. I feel like there almost needs to be more punishment and reward for being in different factions. The class system may be entirely different from what you're regularly used to. In fact, there are no classes at all. You pick weapons that you want to skill up with, which open up abilities or spells for you to use. It does make sense that someone wielding a sword and shield would be using different abilities than someone wielding a staff or a bow. Once you've picked the weapons that you want to level up with, if later on you decide that you picked the wrong weapons or you want to play a totally different type of character, it's perfectly okay for you to pick up a brand new weapon and train that skill up as well without losing any of the skill that you got in the previous weapon. You will always only ever be able to wield 2 different weapons at one time. So for example, let's say you want to play a mage, you would simply just level up a fire staff. This becomes a very interesting system, and a lot of variety does exist as people pick their 2 primary weapons. It also makes it less stressful later on in the game if you felt as though you've made a mistake, and instead of maybe playing a mage, maybe you want to play a bow user or a tank. It's very easy to do so. You just have to level up weapons that associate with those type of classes. Combat is interesting. The mechanics are very different from what I'm used to. Having to swap weapons first if I wanted access to the second weapon's abilities took some getting used to. Weapon type, armor, abilities that you picked all matter. Another nice function of combat is footwork and being able to dodge away from a swing. The combat is fast-paced and exciting, but there are issues when it comes to chasing down an enemy. You could chase him from one side of the map to the other. It's very hard to actually slow down an opponent who decides to tuck tail and run. You're also probably why I haven't been talking about the bugs in the game yet. Well, to be honest, I think that for the most part these can be fixed by release date. The main concern with an MMO is gameplay. I truly believe that Amazon can get the bugs worked out before launch. My last major concern is something that has been beaten to death in the past, so I'm only going to add my 2 cents. A lack of variety on server types is a major concern for me and a mistake in my eyes. The server types PvE, PvP, neutral, and roleplay are a major attraction for any MMO. For those that don't want the constant pressure of PvP, they could just play on a neutral server and flag when necessary. For those that like the constant back and forth of large world PvP fights, being on a PvP server is a big deal, and yet there are those who enjoy immersing themselves in role-playing their character on dedicated servers. By having options for players, it gives everyone more of what they want and attracts more people to the game and makes everyone happy. It is still a major disappointment in many people's eyes that Amazon decided to take the route that they did, and we can only hope that maybe one day they change their minds. By allowing everyone to choose a server that is more suited to their playstyle, full of other people who enjoy the same playstyle, it just kind of makes everyone happy. Is the game worth $40? In my opinion, it certainly is. Even in the state it is in, it would get a resounding yes from me to buy the game. I am, however, very concerned with the lack of quest variation for the bulk of the quests that every player is going to be doing in the game. I'm also very concerned with what currently appears to be the lack of endgame content. I've seen others play it. I've watched videos of the corruption breaches, small group dungeons, and faction battles over territory. And I can say this, there needs to be more. Players are going to get extraordinarily bored of doing corruption breach after corruption breach and small group level 60 dungeons, of which I believe there's only 3 extra dungeons at level 60. There are, of course, world bosses, but again, I don't think that this is enough. There are rumors that there are going to be major updates and extra lands with new weapons added to the game. I can hope that this means something else for major content, such as maybe larger full-scale raids, more battlegrounds, etc. I will say this after everything I've said in this video, I do think that Amazon has what is a very solid foundation for what could turn out to be a very, very good MMO. We'll have to wait and see what direction that Amazon takes this game in. I am really looking forward to the game launching and playing the game at the end of August. In my next video, I'm going to be going into specifics on what I really liked about the game, and in the video after that, I'm going to be going into specifics about what I really don't like about the game or what I think needs to be changed or fixed. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please consider leaving a like and subscribe to my channel, as it really helps out with the algorithm, and I plan on bringing you much more New World content coming up. Please also feel free to come talk to me about New World or any other MMO on Twitch at twitch.tv/Alodar, where I stream 6 days per week. Hours and link will be below. Thanks again, and have yourself a great day.